Okay. Hey, we are at the bottom of the hour where we have MoreTalk. We're your weekly rendezvous for mortgage and real estate, where we talk about what's going on in real estate, what's going on in lending. You're going to have the mindset as a cheap consumer, the one that doesn't want to pay for those services, the one that says, "Hey, you know what? I'll pay someone $2,000 and I'll put it into a listing agreement at the close of escrow just to put it onto the MLS." I think it's a travesty for the listing agent, because the buyer's agent can say, because the market is going to turn eventually where the buyer's agent can actually ask for that commission, and the listing agent they're the real losers actually in this case. And I don't think the realtors have fought hard enough to provide the value of what they actually do in negotiation, in the follow up of how they take care of their clients, and that's just not. It's just not a part of social media enough. It's all about, these short-term make jokes on social media, TikToks of it's not really informational. It's more of it's kind of a joke actually. So I don't think it's helping the buyer's agent. I don't think it's helping the seller's agent. It's a travesty to the industry, and it's a travesty to what kind of value proposition agents actually do provide. Yes, there are those who are unprofessional and don't know what they're doing. However, I do believe that the top agents that are out there in California, if you're doing 12 to 15 plus deals a year, then you actually have an idea of what you're doing and are providing a valuable service to the home buyer or to the home seller. That's my soapbox, by the way, Michael.
No, I think people appreciate the soapbox. And so here's what's happening. This gentleman, Bob, has been working since 1996. And what people don't realize is he actually blocked the CoStar deal. But okay. Consumer Direct is working. So the wake-up call is it took 20 years, but the Zillow, which maybe is a homework assignment for next week, Mike, I think a killer show would just be breaking down the earnings report of Zillow. I think that'd be cool. But it showed they are poised to, they're in the lead right now. They have finally figured out Consumer Direct in 20 years later, meaning how to actually monetize and get consumers to not just click, but to make actionable steps. They also feel that they will make more money in a buyer, no buyer agent world. They'll be much more profitable, but they're prepared for revenue in any model. And they, have about 84 million people go on their system weekly to look at property.
Have you noticed that we haven't heard much of Zillow or Redfin in the sense of, the Redfin model is you pay a salary to somebody. And if there was, and until this ruling, a buyer's agent as a broker would share the cooperative commission of 6%, 5%, whatever, and then that commission would collectively go to the Redfin as an agency, and they might get like $500 to $1,000 for the closed transaction while they get their salary. But this actually benefits the corporation like a Zillow as a realty or a Redfin as a realty, because now as a corporation, because they're not paying as much to their licensed agent, they can sit here and go, well, we're a large corporation. We're bringing in our people to negotiate. We're going to collect a huge fee because we have a huge team of XYZ behind us. And we don't pay as big as commissions, but whoever comes to work for us, we'll pay you. Just like a loan officer who goes into a retail division, and in California you might earn $2,400. In other states you might earn $1,600 a month. But you pay the low salary, don't get as many basis points, or don't get as high as a commission, and then effectively the corporation gets to win. And I'm saying that for the small business owner that owns the smaller brokerage, it's a travesty. Again, a travesty for the industry in itself. More so to all members who think that NAR was hurting them. There's a huge political action committee that is actually working on behalf of each individual agent. I know there's drama. Look, there's drama in every organization. We'd be idiotic to think that there's not. But again, I think that to not get very much response or any response, the silence is deafening from Redfin. The silence is deafening from Zillow. Because
Redfin was the
they
first
stand
one
up
to leave
to win.
NAR. So
What's
it's I don't know if that's they were, but I guess that was about the sexual assault, not assault,
I know you're
sexual
heading there, but
allegation.
I'm just telling you a different opinion. That's all.
Yeah. To address that, a couple things. One, I think it's a great opportunity for a lender to hire a salary buyer's agent.
Yes.
50, 60, 70,000, work on it, because that's what they're saying. The consumer, they feel a consumer gets bullied after a certain amount of showings, right?
Yeah.
Versus, I think that was part of it, a part of the testimony. So if I show you unpaid, I mean, and it's not fair to them, but like, if I give up my 4 straight weekends, Saturday for one client and Sunday for the other, unpaid, that's the problem, right? You're going to see my tonality change by week 4, week 5, week 6. It's natural. It's okay. Nothing wrong with that. I guess there is something wrong with that they ruled, but you know what I mean? Whereas if you're salary, you're giving them the steady hand, honest opinion, and you're walking them through the process. And look, I didn't cheer for it to come out this way. I don't think it's good for lenders, but I don't think it's good at all for lenders to not change something when the market just changed. Got to change something. What I would do is, and I know it's probably a tough time to afford it, but if you could afford
I think actually I think actually here, I think there, if you can just reframe that, or if you have a willingness to reframe this, Michael, I think this is an opportunity for lenders right now. Yes, it is NAR's loss. Yes, it is a loss for buyers and sellers alike on a national basis as far as representation goes. However, for the lender that's out there, I think that this is the opportunity that unfortunately for the realtors that are out there, this is the opportunity that we've been waiting for, that came at the cost of everyone that's related to NAR. In other words, everyone that's a NAR member. And by the way, in California, you're allowed to do real estate and mortgage loans at the same time. So there's a little bit of a loss there, a little bit. But I think if a lender is sitting there going, because there's a lot of smart loan officers out there that know how to do real estate, they just don't for XYZ reasons, and they can definitely educate their buyers to say this is what we can do, and they can actually work now with the listing agent to say this is what your buyer's agents are going to be doing, and for me as the lender, this is what it's going to cost, and we need the seller to pay for this, that, and the other. And this is what your buyer's agent is going to do. And if you want to work with me as a lender, then this is what you're going to have to pay the buyer's agent, because I need this buyer's agent to work with you instead of against you. When you have
I'll give you some context, right? And this is by the chief economist at NAR.
All right.
First-time home buyers challenges. Finding the right property. 61% of buyers. In my area, there's like 4 properties. So an in-house buyer's agent, I'm sure, would be very helpful at helping you decipher between those 4. It wasn't like 2011 when there was 37 somewhere in, short sale, somewhere Fannie Mae Home Path, etc. 2, saving for down payment. 38% of the buyers. That's their biggest challenge. That seems like a loan officer piece as much as a buyer's agent, right?
Yeah.
I would argue. But both. Whoever can do it better. Understanding the process. If you have a full-time worker that when they're not showing property, they're learning the process, I think they're capable of that. Paperwork, 23%. I think you would outsource that. Like that's going to become fractionalized payments. A lot of this system you're going to see pop up probably is fractionalized work. And then getting mortgage and appraisal, that's mortgage anyway. So here's another piece that somebody said. What does somebody like? Why is it commission based? Like it almost should be tiered. How much extra work does somebody listing a $350,000 and a $480,000 house do as a real estate agent? Now, I guess like when you get up to $1 million, you might have to stage and do but how much more does a $900,000 person do than $1 million? Do they do $1,000 extra work or $2,000 extra work? I mean, that's the question I'm hearing, Mike.
How do you quantify that though? I would argue to say
you're muted, Mike, on LinkedIn, so nobody on LinkedIn can hear you speak.
I would actually say that the agent, 1.1 from 900,000 to 1.1 million. I think the perception is to a lot of people that there's not that much work that's being done. However, I would say that to the experienced agent or the agent that has an experienced agent behind them to coach them, or a broker that gives them an experience, the $200,000 or the potential $5,000 to $6,000 extra commission that the agent could earn, I would say that's earned through certain types of experience. It's kind of like, is it more valuable to hire this lawyer or this lawyer for this particular court case, right? And when you hire an agency, there's a depending upon the agent, there's a certain type of insurance that comes with that. The insurance is what type of representation is going to happen when it's 1 to 4 years down the road. For me, formerly owning a real estate brokerage, I've had people. I mean, I've had transaction come back to me 2, 3, 4, 5 years later after the close of escrow. It's already changed ownership twice because of some disclosure that didn't happen from an agent 2 years ago. That one agent changes another agent to another agent. And I think that when you have, and when it comes to me, I did a pretty fair job actually protecting my agency. But when it comes to agents that are they have experienced sales managers, but they don't have experienced brokers to handle the transactional business of things that go wrong. That's when it becomes an issue. So there's a lot of really smart agents and brokerage and managers that are out there, but then some of the mom and pops don't have that. I think it hurts the mom and pop agent, not necessarily the large agent. And to answer your question, do you think there's a big deal? Maybe not on an individual basis or transactional basis, one by one, but in the gross scheme of things, it's always the one incident that pays for all of them, right? It's kind of like the one bad apple ruins the whole bunch. So the one bad apple is going to end up paying for all of the transactions that are actually really good. So there's no value there may not be value in the one. It's just the sum of the parts equal the whole is what I'm saying here.
Yeah, and the opposite, I feel like, for commission, right? Like, as somebody that lives and breathes entrepreneurial commission, like if you get a big deal, 1.2 million, right, and you get a big check off that, what is that, like 24,000 you split with the brokerage?
Sure.
Well, that's why on the lower one, all of a sudden, maybe you have some drone footage, right? Because you went out and bought a drone. Maybe you have a little bit of an area like a big garage, and you have some IKEA stuff, and you do them a favor and you put it in there because their living room looked all bunch of knickknacks all around. So you hire your cleaning company because it represents your brand, and then you sell that one 2 weeks faster or 4 weeks faster, right? Which could be a whole mortgage payment for that seller. So I think commission makes the world go around in sales. And how do you have somebody not? Why are you trying to make a sales job a non-sales job? I just don't think we're advanced that much.
I helped represent my brother on a new construction house a few years ago, and this is brand new construction, right? Nobody's ever lived there. It just got finished building. They just got their certificate of occupancy, and this is in California, here in San Diego, and there was a cracked slab, meaning that I went outside and dug around for a little bit, and I said, "This is a cracked slab." Go to the builder. And I said, "Hey, you're telling me that we don't need a home inspector because it's a brand new house and there's not going to be any defect. I'm just an individual person. There's a cracked slab. Get your contractor out there and fix it." And hey, we have this electrical issue right now. I went in and plugged in something that normally a home inspector would do, and I checked this, and this. You're losing voltage in the upstairs bedroom area where it's just something's happening with electricity. I don't think that a lot of buyers agents know necessarily to do that, but I think there are a number of people who have the experience when they hire their home inspector to say, "Hey, this is what we're looking for here. This is what we're going to be doing." And if you're a buyer and you don't understand what that means, my brother was fortunate because he had me there. And I'm not saying that to just toot myself. I'm just saying that not every because I've literally I've bought so many houses in my home investing career that I'm looking for problems so that I don't have to have them when my renter calls me and says I have this electrical issue, I have this plumbing issue, I have this internet issue, we have a hole or a slab issue or a plumbing issue that we should take from the slab up into the roof. I just don't want to deal with that in the future. So I look for things like that, and I think there's value in the buyer's agent representing the buyer, especially with all the construction, with all the things that are going on right now, with the demand that we're still going to have over the next 2 years. There's value in the buyer's agent, and why should the seller really care when they're just building it into the price anyway? I mean, yeah, they want to get their money, but should they? I mean, should they care? Is my question to you, Michael. I'm not talking about NAR here. I'm just talking about what is fair to the buyer's agent and the seller's agent.
Yeah. What if they aren't building it into the price? I'm sure they were able to prove it wasn't built into the price. Like somebody would have paid that much and paid their buyer's agent less, and the money would have went to the seller.
Well, what if an organization, for example, like California is the California Association of Realtors, okay? And so what if they build on behalf of all agencies to say, this may be your listing agreement commission. Do you, as the seller, agree to pay a commission to the buyer's agent? And it's going to be a yes or no box. If the answer is yes, on the listing agreement, they could either A, leave it blank, or B, well, in this case, just leave it blank altogether. And then on the actual residential purchase contract, put a commission saying, as a buyer's agent, this is my request in expectation for commission, 3.5%. And then there's going to be some negotiation. Well, maybe it goes to 3. Then there's going to be some negotiation. Maybe it goes to 2.75. Then there's going to be some negotiation. And this is verbally between agents, right? Before it actually gets to counteroffer stage. Okay, we're going to make it 2.5%. And this is what we're going to agree to, because that's what it was in the past. So let's instead of dealing with it at the listing agent level, we're just going to deal it at the negotiation of the offer itself. I mean, there are ways to get around this as long as the brokers and the agency owners have a willingness to educate the realtors, and then even more so when the originators can also work in, hey, because of the pricing, right? It's hard to do no points, no fees anymore more at today's price. So now you can negotiate not only the buyer's agent commission, but also the originator's discount or origination points that are coming along with it. So, I mean, yes, again, it's a travesty to the industry, but there are ways to get around it, and there's ways to mitigate commissions for the realtors without making the sellers think that they're colluding with somebody else.
Yeah, I think it's not. I think they just felt like they didn't have an option to say no. But why don't you give a quick MoreTalk promo?
Got it. Hey, we are at the bottom of the hour where we have MoreTalk. We're your weekly rendezvous for mortgage and real estate, where we talk about what's going on in real estate, what's going on in lending, and every once in a while we put a smidgen of what's going on with the economy and capital markets for trading in mortgage-backed securities. We do this every Thursday from 11 a.m. Pacific or 2 p.m. Eastern time. And this week, right now, we're talking about the NAR court case, and we're talking about what potentially going to happen when it comes to the commissions of the agent, how they put their listing agent agreement, but our buyer's agent how are they going to negotiate, and even a tertiary level, how are originators going to help their buyer's agents so they can earn this or greater commission when it comes to representation? Because not only does it open up a way of possibility to earn
Mike,
less.
you're coming in choppy. I don't know if you went to a different area of the
No,
office.
it's my dogs. They're talking. They're growling. But
no,
anyway.
I meant from like a Wi-Fi standpoint. It was like you roboting. What do they call it? The Matrix?
Oh, the Matrix, where it sounds electronic. Yeah, I get that.
Oh, you're back now. Perfect.
I just brought my phone a little bit closer. Anyway.
Okay.
I think that here's opportunities for what they call wholesalers, unlicensed agents to come in and earn a fee. And I think it's going to be interesting to see who's going to negotiate what, and is someone going to actually need a license now that the NAR is it has got this lawsuit? I mean, there's got to be a lot of fees. Someone's got to pay those fees, those legal fees, the settlement fees of commissions that. So anyway,
Yeah, I think it's also digital. Like, I think there's going to be a race for digital, and that's where NAR is very effective too, is helping out there. So I got something from Zillow. Speaking of digital, consumer direct, advocate for a complete disruption of the current realtor landscape. If it happened, we'd probably become a much more profitable, powerful pay-to-play marketplace. Sort of a digital classified advertising analogy. In this scenario, Zillow would be an odds-on favorite to become the leading digital listings marketplace, given our brand traffic engagement and our unique focus on solving movers' real pain points with our software-anchored housing super app vision. Yes, it's Zillow, it's CoStar. Lenders need to understand they need a play, and this is why I believe in consortiums of lenders. They need to get together. So whoever's listening to the replay on Sundays on YouTube, I try to say like IMBs because I think they are under the most fire right now. And I also think they're built with people that are tenacious and certainly can stand up and reinvent themselves. But I think you have to get upstream. You have to get that consumer on the real estate side. It seems like all the leaders are doing it on the real estate. And it seems like the lenders are a little lost, not working together to try and figure out how to win upstream. And give me an example. I can give you CoStar and Zillow are winning. Third place, I'd say third and fourth place it might be ICE, but I don't see where the lenders own ICE. So if that doesn't count, lenders, who do you have? What do you have? Would love to hear from the audience any idea of how do lenders reinvent themselves, work together to possibly get those eyeballs. And who does CoStar have? CoStar has apartments.com and HomeSnap. That's eyeballs. What does Zillow have? The Zillow app, right? And I'm not even giving Redfin credit. I'm saying there's bigger eyeball attention data gatherers than that crush them, and that's Zillow, and that is CoStar, and even Realtor.com is out of NAR, but with Bob gone, that was what he was been trying to do since 1996. This might be an accidental, what do you call it? Collateral damage. Might be they lose all the momentum on the digital side because they had to make this move, and for many reasons. Seemed like everybody wanted it, but I think they ignored when you change ships. Sometimes finding somebody with that same upstream vision is hard to replace, and I don't think anybody ever gave them much credit for it. But they have three. NAR really has three. What would you call them? Stranded assets. One is the brokers, like they have to find a way to get them all vertical together. They also have some national data that they obviously deal with, and being able to nationalize it a little bit easier in their advantage. And the third is Realtor.com. And so that third stool leg can't be seen as a third stool leg. It really needs to be seen as the leading spear, tip of the spear. And then I ask, what do lenders have? There's no lender.com. That's the one thing Matt Ishba did well. At least he took money, funneled everybody's broker money into findabroker.com.
Yeah. Yes. Seriously, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that's good enough. I think IMBs are capable of doing something better. But every time he's on CNBC, go to findabroker.com. It's missing the feeling of a homeowner going there for first stop. They go to Zillow, see the values, but lenders got to get there. They got to do it together. They have to. And they have to figure out how to get those eyeballs, and they have to do it very quickly. Their representation of ICE doing it for them is not, I don't, it's not like ICE is giving them the business. Looks like Mike's having some issues, so I'm going to have to carry this a little bit more. Another article that I saved, so don't worry, I actually saved some articles we could talk about here. If anybody in the audience wants to quote, call in, come up here on LinkedIn, that would be a great time to help me out and bring up anything you want about top of the funnel digitization or what it's going to take to get lenders to have a consortium to really grab that homeowner before they find their buyer's agent, before they find their loan officer, just something that they can relate to around home ownership. I mean, Sue Knows Best talks about it again, different reasons, but it's still 83% of millennials regret buying the home because the down payment and closing costs take so much money, they didn't realize how expensive owning a home was. So I'm going to look at my articles here that I saved. And let's talk about another one, another activity. Feel free to send me some on LinkedIn if you ever have them. Feel free to jump up here and talk. But where is it? My items. Going through it now, and I'm looking at saved posts. Another one that I found very interesting was so it looks like the HELOCs are getting expensive enough because they're on prime rate, and I still think everybody should be on it. Try and get your HELOC now while you can, but at least using it for, rather than debt consolidation, just using it for fixing up your home improvements, that is all but dried up. And I saw like 5 charts to show it, but it's gone from, and this is year over year, so it's hard to tell. Obviously, you would think it would go up, but it's been up 8% year over year in 2021, then like 5, 4. By the fourth quarter of 2022, it was down to 3%. First quarter of 2023, 2%, 1%. It's now 0%, meaning just as many this year as last year. There's no growth. And that is because the Fed tightening meant the small amount of loan officers are willing to go up to that rate to improve their home. To give you an idea, it looks like HELOCs were at about 4% in middle of 2022, and now they're up dancing above and below 10%. Right now they're at 8.9%. At 8.9, I think you can still sell all day long a cash out refinance, which we'll get into. But I think for home improvement, it's becoming a little bit more difficult to sell that. Another one is just all these charts show that. So people are slowing down on home improvement. I don't know if that'll affect the local construction workers. Homeowners are breaking up larger remodels into smaller, high priority. They're finding from Rhode Island. The flip side of a low resale supply is homeowners are staying put for longer, especially older folks. That means more remodels and aging in place. So people are going to have to decide to use the HELOC to, maybe stay on the first floor. Oops, bringing you up here, Chris, to help out. Let's see. Chris? Oh, now Mike comes in because we're going to have a guest. Classic.
All right.
Hey, Chris. Oh. I was trying to get you up to speak there, Chris. But it looks like maybe you're... Oh, there we go. Here's Chris Call, viewer of the show, so we appreciate it. How's it going today? We are at a point now where we've built an Excel sheet at Adopt the Brand where we're trying to show, yes, with all this built up debt you have, it's getting back to the point where you should be looking at tapping that equity and showing the consumer that it's okay. Don't have regret after you do it based on the unknown, based on this preconceived notion like, oh, I should have kept it because it was the right thing to do, not touch the equity in my home, and show them that you're going to refinance, sell, cash out 3, 4, 7 years down the road anyway. I mean, that's what the odds say. And you'll find out that you would have saved $3, $6, $9, $12,000 in interest if you had just pulled the trigger today, because that interest is and you're going to do it. Like, you can almost show them if you're not in a commission job, like with the ones we were describing, or like Mike and I are involved. If you're pay stub W-2, it's a very linear path on what's going to happen. And at some point, the interest rates are getting high enough where the interest that you owe is larger than the minimum payment. So obviously the credit card goes up, and then you're paying interest on that. And all of that is after tax dollars. So you add in student loans, you should be able to put it through and play out a couple different simulators that help you see life 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and choose the path you really want to follow, and choose it based on a different look at it. So you're not looking at it as a cash out refinance or a HELOC. You're picking 4 paths and saying, yeah, this one looks disastrous. Guess what? Most often, if you have more than, obviously you want to run it through some data sources, and if we identify more than $30,000 debt load in this bracket of credit score, the perpetency. That's a difficult word for me. I never get it right.
Are you trying to say oh God, I can't say it either. Thursday.
Next week we're just gonna have a show where everybody's gonna have to come up and try and say that word.
Propensity.
Propensity, right. You speak to enough CRAs, you'll get that right. There's a propensity to predict the outcome. And if you just taken that extra minimum payments and started to apply it in different places, but I think more what we wanted to show is, even if you didn't do the T, like how we used to sell cash out refinances in 2010, and you do the T, this is your minimums now, this is your minimums in the future. If you just take all this $800 savings, you'll start applying it towards your principal, you'll actually be debt free and in a better spot in 4 years, 3 years. And then you hang up going, they're probably not going to continue to do that. But the Excel sheets to show, like, even if they don't do the quote right thing, they're still in a better spot than in this hole they've got themselves into on the debt side. The interest rates rising out of nowhere, the fake money being printed. It was all set up. It's all like, I just feel like it's all one big scale, and the whole system set up where you have the equity because you're supposed to use it, and the Fed's going to try and make a system in place, or a society here, where you're going to have to tap that equity. What good is that in our economy if it's all sitting in homes?
Right. Well, and one of the tactics that I always say is, you're going to try to consolidate your debt into a 0% interest credit card that is good for maybe 12, 18 months I've seen. But you can't write off that any interest, right? Where with a home equity line, you can. That interest, you can write that off on your taxes. And your 0% interest is only going to last for a certain amount of time, right? Like, if you have $40,000 in debt and you're putting it in 12 months for 0% interest, are you really going to be able to pay off $12,000 or $20,000 in 12 months? Probably not. And so I've been playing the angle of monthly savings and the additional tax benefit that goes along with taking that HELOC, as opposed to trying to refinance into an adjustable rate credit card,
And if you're if you're at a point where all of a sudden you're like at your limit, you'll notice the 0% stop coming, right?
Yeah.
And so even by paying it down, now all of a sudden 2, 3 months later, guess what's going to start coming again? 0% cards, right? So I think loan officers often get stuck in. This is why this whole market's very difficult. Loan officers are selling the fact that they, in their hearts, believe so much that rate that they, at that 3.5% is so good. Being 6 years into an amortization schedule, so much better than 1 year. Like, they know it, they live it. It's very hard for them to advise somebody to get out, and they automatically assume the worst in the financial decisions, because they don't want to come off as charmers and smells of a sell smoke, right? But the reality is there's a lot of people out there suffering because they're not getting the financial advice they need that they can use their home to fix things up. In my opinion, suffering every day, after tax dollars, not going anywhere, getting further in the hole, and they're saving their house because they think it's the right thing to do. But there's no Excel sheets, there's no portals, there's no nothing that's actually showed them that. Just that little person, 8 inches between both ears, has somehow whispered that they can't get it. So I think you're spot on, Chris. And I think those 0% come. That's 0% that would have been 30%, right? I mean,
Right.
are you just trying to live your life till you're maxed out on all your credit cards and that's what's going to make you stop spending? Or I guess as a loan officer, is that your angle? Put them in that position because you don't trust to clear out their credit cards and give them more money to do it. And you feel responsible for them going down that hole because eventually the minimum payments become more than the pay stub that you get every week after tax. And so we talk about it all the time, but we don't get why not take out that HELOC now while it's available? Because you don't know the market. The liquidity could go down and different correspondents might not offer it to lenders, so it's not available. Your credit could go down. Why are more consumers not? Where is that person in this system that's trying to help their entire database grab HELOCs so they can tap their equity when they need it, rather than when they need it, they're tapping it at much worse rates, or they can't tap it at all, and now they're doing cash out refinances.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's a strategy that I think a lot of folks aren't thinking about. Access the equity in your house. You don't need to use it. What emergency could come up, right? That's a sales tactic that I don't ever hear. Maybe some folks do it, but I never hear it in my around my circles.
And so we believe in Adopt the Brand. That might be the fastest HOV pass to get up into the consumer's eyeballs versus trying to pull off a miracle. You don't have the funding of Zillow, right? So maybe you get the eyeball attention by earning their trust and controlling their tappable equity. So they're asking questions every time you should have them ask you a question every time they tap it. And you'll eventually get all their business ever. Couldn't agree more. That was great. And one thing that Kevin Perania will say, I heard him coming back from the NBA, is all the people that say, I was refinancing 17%. And he says, yeah, but you were doing from night, you were doing 28 down to 24, down to 20, down to 18. We're going up, 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 which is a little bit different, but couldn't agree more with what you were saying, Chris, the consultancy, but more importantly, the COVID has made us comfortable jumping on Zooms all day, working from a computer, staying inside some of the biggest comfort zones. And also, I think I think the industry needs to come to grips, like purchase loan officers and refinance loan officers are totally different now. The purchase one is somebody that's going to take you out for drinks, somebody that's going to do first-time homebuyer classes, do all sorts of charity events with you, help sponsor a little league team. A refinance person needs to get on the phone, do the T, use Excel sheets like Michael Zhao and I are talking about, and really be a little bit more assertive because somebody does need a little bit of push. And if that purchase person's going to feel, I find now a little like they think that this position, you shouldn't be pushy. But maybe that's why the Excel sheet helps. Like, it's okay to be pushy because as soon as you hang up, they're going to end up giving Discover and MasterCard another $3,800. And in 3 years, they're going to call you for a refinance. And then you're going to feel better because they called you, but you cost them $3,600 because you let them off the phone. That's kind of the mindset a refinance person has. And Mitchell, I know as a Flagstar Bank executive, you must be seeing it all right now. What did you come up here to talk about? And any comments on refinance versus purchase loan officers or HELOCs?
Yeah. I appreciate this forum to start, Michael. This is great. I mean, we're coaching on LinkedIn. noticed you were doing this, so I wanted to hop on and listen to everything. It's great. Jim, Chris, you were talking a little bit about the HELOCs and kind of the changes there, and one of your clients you had mentioned was student loan debts, and it really just got me thinking, kind of, because we've been doing HELOC on the 30 origination, so it's been a little over a year, and just some of the changes I've seen, and you brought it up as well, Michael. And the options available out there from different lenders, and having it as like a security blanket if times get tough, and paying off student loans, things like that. And what I've seen in the market, just from our perspective, and I think overall as well, is the tightening up of the HELOC. And that's kind of what I wanted to bring up and come on and talk about. Roughly a year ago, different lenders didn't really have too many restrictions on how much money was being taken out. So as time goes on, the liquidity, as brought up, is going to change with the HELOC program too. So I've seen that over the last year, and everyone's tightening up on what they're willing to do. So I think right now the biggest advantage that loan originators have to the market, purchase or refinance, and you mentioned this, Michael, being an expert. I think the biggest thing is being consultative, and building that relationship to advise. People over the last few years have gotten comfortable because the market's been so good, just letting it fly. And now's the time to, really buckle down and make sure that we're doing that with everyone. And I think, the HELOC product is a really good way to put that on display. So kind of liked how you transitioned to that as well, Michael.
Yeah, what we've seen here, if you guys can hear me okay, is that we've gotten really complacent as an industry. And not only have we gotten complacent in our work, we've gotten complacent as an industry. And complacency is reserved for the weak, and the tables are getting full at that restaurant. Meaning that if you're only selling interest rate, it's not going. Not only are you hurting yourself, you're hurting the industry, because there's no value in just selling interest rate. But and also, if you're going to show someone the gain in mortgage coach, you need to be able to also show people what is the weakness. Kind of like if you have a cancer today, what does that cancer look like a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, assuming you're in stage 1, by the way. And if the cancer is debt, and if negative amortization's got such a bad rap 10 years ago with loans like with the negative amortization loans. Negative amortization is what happens when you make your minimum payment on credit cards. And if you continue to make your minimum payment today, it's going to be $20,000 a day. But at 28% at your minimum payment, which is negatively amortizing, your debt is going to continue to grow. If you don't show that sickness, then as well as the benefit, then you'd say, well, the HELOC is going to save you $300, and if you put it away using Mortgage Coach, then you can say this is how much your assets are going to grow. But in case you decide to piss it away, this is how much you're really going to piss away if you decide not to do a HELOC, if you decide not to do a debt consolidation, if you decide not to do X, Y, Z. So I think that we need to be more consultative, not only in our asset-based advice, we need to also be consultative in our debt-based advice at the same time. There isn't any software for that that's out there in the Mortgage Coach platform at the moment. I don't think that Dave wants to promote that as a part of Mortgage Coach, but it is something that you can definitely show on an Excel spreadsheet. And I think that's something that we're doing right now with that Michael and I are doing. So just showing the wellness of asset preservation and showing the sickness of debt incursion is something that needs to be shown on both sides, so we can be absolute advisors rather than just selling interest rate. But anyway, we're at the top of the hour right now. We try and keep our show out to about an hour. I'm sorry for my internet Wi-Fi issues at home. I switched rooms so that I can I'm turning off my Wi-Fi here so I can get a better connection. But I think this was great conversation. Looking forward to talking about it in the weeks to come.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, everybody. Next, we do run these on Sunday on YouTube. So if you check that out, give it a subscribe. That would be very helpful.
you ever see it. And we will see you next Thursday at 2 p.m.